My boyfriend doesn't accept the fact I want to spend time with other people. I've been with my boyfriend for 2 years. We recently purchased a house and we spent lockdown together in a rental flat. When I met him, he was in the middle of divorcing his ex and it was very heavy on him. Everything was okay for a while, and we moved to another city for a new job he had. I've been pretty supportive. Emo. I moved with him, was working from home 3 days per week and taking a train every week to go to my office in the capital. I know no one in this city while he has family and childhood friends there. During the last years, I only spent time with his family and friends and I barely saw my own because he would always make plans on my few rest days. It started getting sour when a close friend, a gay friend in a relationship, from abroad was visiting my country. It had been 2 years I hadn't seen him and I was super excited about it. I spent time with him but my boyfriend was super pissed. It created an argument when I explained to him I needed time with friends too, as during lockdown my whole life was either him or work, and I wanted all. Being able to see my friends but also spend time with him. He was not pleased, but after a few days, we talked again about it and I really tried to express my needs in the most clear and understanding way. He was a bit upset because he said he wanted to spend all his time with me but I said for me it was unhealthy and I would gladly spend a good amount of time with him but I also needed some time with my friends. He offered to come to see my friends with me every time I felt the need, but I said that with him a few time would be cool but also need me time with my own people. I started making plans with a few friends, like going to see an exhibition with the new friend I made, female friend, here and he complained saying he would have loved seeing this exhibition with him. Or I also planned on spending a weekend in Germany to see my best friend, female friend, and he said he wanted to go to and that I was mean not to include him. He tried to be intimate several times after that, but I was still not 100% in the mood as I was affected by our quarrel and I told him so. I just wanted trust and affection to rebuild naturally. And #X200B. I felt like it was the case until this morning when he blowed up by text telling me that he didn't want to be with a woman that would minimize her time with him to spend it with other people. And that as we don't have intimacy and that I'm getting on his nerves, I should leave our house and go back to my mom. That he would repurchase my participation in the house and that it won't be my home anyway. So basically, he was breaking up with me in a very vindicative way because I told him I will spend times with my friends. For him, I'm a selfish person that doesn't care about his feeling but I feel like he asks too much of me and that it is normal I still want to see my friends? I'm starting to doubt my own sanity on this matter as I don't understand how something that seemed natural for me can be a deal breaker in a relationship? You're sane. Just incompatible with your BF. Bullet dodged. Congratulations, you are a lucky young woman. Talk to a lawyer about selling the house. Make sure you get your fair share, which if things are equal is half the currently appraised value of the house, the outstanding mortgage. Consider the bullet dodged here, but figure out what you want to do with the house. He doesn't just get to unilaterally decide that. Get legal counsel if necessary. Good luck. Bullet dodged girl. Now run far from this man and continue your life. You'll find someone who isn't an controlling asshole who guilts you for having friends. Take him up on buying you out if it's a fair deal. You're not going to get past him wanting to be joined with you at the hip. You're not the one in the wrong here. Your boyfriend has some serious abandonment and attachment issues and is literally gaslighting you into thinking you're the one causing problems. I'm sorry about what he went through with his ex, but that's not your problem. You don't have to spend every second of your life around him just because he wants to be included in every damn thing you do. You haven't seen your family or friends in 2 years while constantly going to visit his and he thinks you're the selfish one? He can get the fuck outta here with that nonsense. He's trying to cut you off from your friends. I would push back against this hard and tell him to stop being so clingy and controlling. As someone who was once possessive over their first girlfriend's time, I can assure you, the trash just took itself out and you're better off this way. Please do not chase after him because it's more than likely that he's trying to get a reaction out of you. Have you beg and grovel for him not to end the relationship and stop spending time with your friends again in favor of him. Either he'll go his own way and maybe learn and improve as a person, or he'll the one back snotting and crying and begging for you back. Drunk fiance, 32 female, slept with someone while drunk. So my, 31 male, fiance, 32 female, went out with her colleagues to have a drink. Now bear in mind this was the first time in over a year and a half that she had gone out for drinks. I had COVID 6 months ago and she has been extra careful ever since about going out, even though I have been pushing her to do it. Recently they had been working on a deal and it was successful and they went out on Sunday to celebrate it. I was just hanging out at home. She sent me a few texts here and there. Her last text was at 10:30 where she said she would be leaving in half an hour and that she was very tipsy. I asked her to be careful. Then she went radio silent and when she didn't come back by 1 a.m. I started to worry a bit. I called her number, no response. I called her colleague's number but her husband picked up and said that she had come home at 12:30 and was very drunk and sleeping and he had no idea about my fiancé. I was thinking about what to do when I suddenly get a call from her. It's 3 a.m. She is crying, saying she doesn't know where she is and that she wants me to come pick her up. I calmed her down enough to send me her location on WhatsApp. It took me 25 minutes to reach there and when I saw her I was astonished. I had never seen her this drunk. When she saw me she clung to me and kept saying sorry over and over. I drove her home and put her to bed as I knew there's no point in talking to her in this state. One very idiotic thing I did was that when I brought her home I changed her clothes and put what she wore on the night out in the washing machine. Anyways, when she woke up I gave her some coffee and asked what happened and it took her some time to remember but again she started panicking and kept saying that she has these flashes in her mind of having sex with someone and asking for condoms. So I asked her to call her colleagues and she confirmed that there was a guy in the lounge who was very interested in my fiancé and at some point of time they were talking. Her colleague says when left my fiancé was still talking to this guy. But she confirms that my fiancé had trouble standing up at this point. My fiancé has absolutely no memory of even meeting this guy, let alone talking to him. And the colleague didn't know the guy. So I told my fiancé it seems like she was taken advantage of, but she is very adamant that she cheated and has been crying non-stop now as she thinks I am going to break up with her. I have been trying to talk to her and reassure her but she isn't ready to listen. I think since she hadn't had a drink for the past 16 months her alcohol tolerance dropped so she didn't recognize her own limits. Right now she slept after clinging to me for 2 hours and crying and blaming herself. It's honestly breaking my heart. Please tell me how to convince her. Reddit. What do I say to her? Edit. What the fuck, guys? Yes, she was drunk and thus not able to consent. It's common sense really. Her colleagues left her alone in the bar with a strange man when she was too drunk to even stand up? Her colleague says when left my fiancé was still talking to this guy. But she confirms that my fiancé had trouble standing up at this point. Her colleague sounds like a real shit person. Any decent person would have never ditched her on her own in that state. So I told my fiancé it seems like she was taken advantage of, but she is very adamant that she cheated and has been crying non-stop now as she thinks I am going to break up with her. I agree with you. She's going through a lot right now, so I wouldn't focus on trying to make her change her mind right now. Just try to support her until she can process things and think more clearly. Talk screen immediately. Sounds like she was drugged and raped. Sounds like rape. She was raped. Regardless of what she thinks, she was way too drunk to give consent. I suggest she call the National Sexual Assault Hotline for guidance and support. I don't know how I would feel in your situation, but IDK if a person can consent to sex when they can't even stand up all the way. I was ready to come in here and say that being drunk doesn't excuse infidelity but she called you after. Scared. It sounds like she was absolutely taken advantage of. I would have her go to therapy. I'm so sorry to both of you. If you think she was drugged, file a police report and go to the hospital ASAP for a blood draw. If she wasn't drugged and it was alcohol-induced then well you have a different situation on your hand. Honestly at 32 I would expect someone to be able to drink responsibly, know their limit and be able to inform their fiancé what's going on and communicating. Definitely get an STD test. Where did you pick her up? At a house? A motel? Sorry you are going through this, man. I hope it all works out for the best. If she was drugged then that was definable rape, sexual assault. Honestly this sounds like rape. Keep supporting her through this because she needs you the most during a time like this. Her mental health is suffering. 20F. Don't like my parents, 45M and 46F, family secret, policy. Okay. So, my parents are really insistent on keeping certain information in the family, and it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable. I am the oldest of 4 siblings, and the others are 18M, 15F, and 13M. Whenever there is a family argument, our parents insist on keeping it absolutely secret from anyone who is not an immediate family member. Also, whenever our mom starts harmful gossip about someone, 18M's GF's mom, we're forbidden from sharing it with anyone, even a significant other. If it matters, we live in the US and are white. I have told my parents that it's normal to treat boyfriends and girlfriends like family in the sense that you tell them pretty much everything. But they say that it's not normal and that it becomes different when you're married. My dad also complains about how Gen Z feels the need to share everything about their lives with everyone. They lectured us recently on how you're supposed to be able to trust family members. How men in the 1950s used to have friends they could vent to about relationship problems or awful teenagers, but how culture prevents that now, and how you should be able to trust family with stuff you tell them. They say that if you can't trust family members to keep things secret, then you have to keep all these kinds of things to yourself, and that's not healthy. Therefore, my siblings and I are forbidden from telling people who are not immediate family members anything that might be potentially embarrassing to said immediate family members. This policy seems overbearing and makes me intensely uncomfortable. How should I respond to it? Should I follow it or just ignore it? Does it seem normal to you? Also, I'm breaking it right now by informing Reddit. Too long did not read. Anything that might be considered embarrassing by a sibling or parent is something we are absolutely forbidden from sharing with outsiders. Our mom gets angry about what 18M tells his GF, shocked by what the girlfriend tells us because it should be a family secret of her own, etc. It's not normal, and that kind of policy is very often used to cover up really bad things. Red flags are waving all over this. You're 20 years old, do whatever the fuck you want. If they fall out with you over it, that's on them. They can't police what you say, it's your decision to share information or not. My parents did that as a way to keep their abuse silent. You're grown now, you don't owe them anything. It depends how serious the secrets are. Obviously you don't want to talk bad about people you care about, your family. But it's normal to talk with friends about things like, say if your mom grounded you for not doing chores. If they're forbidding you to talk about anything, that's a bit odd and controlling. Edit. Why are they waning nostalgia for the 50s when they weren't even alive? They were teenagers in the 90s. I feel like there is a funny uncle, or a bedtime game, that is being left out of this story. Most families are fucking nuts in one way or another. This is kind of a specific weird one, but whatever. This has red flags because it is often associated with abuse, but only you would know if that's the case. Otherwise, they are just weird for no good reason. You are an adult. You don't have to adopt your parents' batshit crazy, do what you want. Tell your siblings to do the same. My mom used that to cover her bad behavior. If I talked about any argument we had to friends, she would beat me. It's not reasonable. Your parents have non-acceptable things to hide. I am really sorry you are dealing with this. I have experienced something similar with my host family in the 2 years I lived in the US. I am from Switzerland. I wasn't allowed to talk about them with my friends, but at the same time, my host mother insisted she had to know every single detail about my friends. Further, she told some private things like that I started taking birth control to others. At first, it felt harmless because she claimed to care about me and treat me like family, but towards the end she was really abusive. Yelled at me, called me names, etc. Unfortunately, while living with them I didn't realize how wrong this was. But trust me, this is wrong and not normal. Agree with your parents honestly. How can you trust someone who's going to gossip about whatever you tell them? Hello, and thank you for your submission. Please take a moment to review the rules listed in our sidebar. For further guidance, please see our wiki. This is a bot message. I cannot respond to any comments. Please modmail us with any questions. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit. Message, compose, to =r, relationship_advice, if you have any questions or concerns. TW. I feel like my mom wants me to be molested. Basically my mom was very inappropriate when it came to sexual things with me. Throughout my life she would always ask me if certain family members molested me, with odd reasoning behind it. It always felt like she wanted the answer to be yes, but I know I've never been molested. She even made me go to different therapists because something was wrong with me. I think she was trying to find out if I was molested or something. The therapists would always say I was fine and we would end therapy because there was nothing to talk about. I got in trouble in high school because I made an edgy joke, something a lot of high school kids do. She really blew it out of proportion and said I made this edgy sexual joke because I was molested. She hired another therapist to ask me if I was molested. I was surprised because the therapist was pressuring me into feeling like I was molested. She was saying how it's likely I have repressed memories. Even though I kept saying how no man has ever laid a hand on me like that. Therapist. Oh, you just don't remember. It's repressed. I was beyond shocked a therapist was pressuring me to say I was molested. WTH is with my mom's obsession for me to be molested? I've heard family members hint that her father molested her sister. Maybe he molested my mom and this is why she wants me to be molested so badly? She would often leave me alone with him. I wonder if she was hoping he would molest me? I feel so alone and like a freak. She has done many more weird sexual things in my life. Now I feel guilty having sex, thinking about sex, and guilty masturbating. She's put this pressure on me to be molested, so now I can't think of sex as anything positive. Too long did not read. Kind of hard to too long did not read. But my mom was sexually creepy and now I'm messed up. I feel alone. It's way above Reddit competence. What I can wildly assume is your mom was molested but she doesn't know how to talk about it so she kind of moves it to you. Either try to talk with her or somehow encourage her to a therapy because that's so wrong on so many levels. This is what immediately came to my mind. Google some additional resources. Do you identify with any of it? This article especially sounds like what you have described. I wonder if your mom has unresolved issues from being sexually assaulted herself and or knowing that her sister was. That makes parents paranoid. Not that it justifies how she dealt with it or what she did to you, but it would explain her behavior. I have friends who were assaulted by friends and family who are now super careful of their kids. No sleepovers, don't leave them alone with others, etc. But what your mom did is insane. Please seek counseling to deal with the trauma you've been left with. I hope your experience with therapists in the past hasn't completely put you off. I'm not sure a lot of the people saying she was just paranoid and trying to protect you read the whole post. Your mom had a pseudo-incest relationship with you. You should avoid her as much as possible. She was sexualizing you from a young age and allowing her boyfriend to do it as well. This is what you should actually be in therapy for. My mom used to do the same stuff, so I feel for you. She'd accuse people of touching me without even asking me first, and when she did ask she wouldn't accept no as an answer. I also made some edgy jokes and looked at porn and she thought that meant I was gonna touch someone and that I've been touched. My mom had been abused like that in her past, so I understood her concern, but it was just way too much. Sounds like your mom needs to be the one going to therapy. Does she want it to have happened, or have her childhood experiences led her to believe that it will have happened to you? It doesn't fit the classic profile of factitious illness by proxy, but it's certainly deeply disturbing. She's the one who needs therapy. My mom used to do something similar. She'd get wicked drunk and ask me over and over if anyone had ever done anything to me, and she'd hyperventilate crying that if anyone ever did she'd murder them. She was sexually abused a lot as a child, and she was very open with me about it in detail from a young age. She's very troubled, and I know this now that she just never dealt with any of it. My mom was always jealous of me for having a better life than she did. She resented me for not being abused, and I feel like she wanted it to happen so she could get revenge against men since she never got her justice. I think your mom is doing something similar by trying to be overly supportive because she had no emotional support with whatever happened to her. She needs the therapy now.